My name is AKeith, and I'm a candidate in the Instructional Technology Master's Program at Kennesaw State. Today I'll be talking to you about my Capstone project I've been working on for a few semesters. Today's agenda, brief introduction of myself. We're going to address the problem I saw, the need, what my plan actually was, the experience I had, the results I had, brief reflection, and then just some references. As I said, my name is AKeith. One unique thing about this capstone for me that's a little different than other people may be the fact that I completed it at two different schools. Initially, I completed a capstone proposal and plan for a middle school setting in rural North Georgia, and then I received a position at Hillgrove High School, a very high-achieving suburban school. So I had to go back and actually redo Capstone. I was able to keep the initial portion and the same idea, luckily, but I had to retool a lot of what I was going to do. Okay. The problem was, despite being a successful school at Hillgrove, a lot of teachers still did not use Web 2.0 tools or really any kind of technology outside of a smartboard. Okay, despite all the funding and the resources made available and the opportunities and the encouragement from the staff, it still wasn't getting done. So I decided that a lack of incorporation, okay, it's also in contrast to the school's overall mission to create learners that are ready to go out, embrace college, get those new 21st century jobs. So I decided that we need to increase Web 2.0 use in the classroom. Again, there was a need to train. When I started just informally talking to people at the school, being a new teacher there, it became obvious that a lot of the sessions that they would go to dealing with technology were presenting the technology, messing with it for a little bit, and then moving on. There's no support, no continuance. I wanted to make sure that I addressed that. Okay. Additionally, I needed to teach people how to actually evaluate a site. There are a countless number of Web 2.0 tools, but if you can't evaluate it or judge what's going to fit your curriculum, it does you no good. And also, I tried to instill some basic troubleshooting with my new colleagues at Hillgrove. A lot of people, it was constantly, and through my experience, this is my 8th year teaching, people you can go, and just like your students, go, teach them, never revisit it, they'll forget. So one of my goals was to really teach people kind of how to solve their own technical issues so they too could become more comfortable with technology. The plan actually started originally in May of 2014 when I was meeting with the administration of my previous school and developing a plan and writing the actual first capstone. The capstone that went into practice began in early and mid-July. With the receiving of the new job, I immediately began to rewrite a portion of my capstone. Where we're going to create surveys, which I'd already done, but again had to retool for the new setting. Begin the formation of a Weebly website. Okay, I was actually not allowed to put things on the school website. Create the deliverables, some of which had already been done, but I had to back off of that without knowing what the new needs of the new setting would be. Late July, I sent out the original survey to the faculty, discussed my findings with new administration, asked for some tips going forward, being new to the school, came up with some responses for that, and then I actually began to make the deliverables in July. Later July, early August rather. Okay, I was able to do a pre-planning session. A lot of that was spent actually introducing myself, which we will get to later on. Okay, from July to December, we conducted the professional development settings. The website was used to record successes and features. And early in the website, the earlier sessions, there's not a lot of participation, not a lot of adding on. But as people became more comfortable with me and more comfortable with themselves in the technological environment, more added. And one additional step I put in that most people may not have is making adjustments to respond to faculty need. Being new to the school, things were going to pop up I wasn't prepared for. Whereas my original school where I wrote the proposal, I was familiar with everyone. I knew the situation a whole lot better. December, we wrapped up our sessions. We did feedback via Google Forms, and I finalized the website. And then January of 2015 of this year, I met with the administrators to discuss kind of how the process was and what things I wanted. That turned out to be really fruitful because they were curious as to what I found out as well. At the end of the year, the December portion of the plan, we had surveys for each session. They were kind of tabulated. Lesson submissions, I asked teachers to submit a lesson. I got lessons for most of the activities that I had originally requested. Again, toward the beginning, it was a little scarce. And then just general observations. This really worked out well for me going to a new school, as much of a headache as it was, because it allowed me to go into classrooms. It allowed me to go into these settings where people are more relaxed, and really that's what helped me develop this capstone to its fullest, because I was able to gain kind of notoriety as someone who's willing to do that on their planning, to go into a classroom, help someone with something. I taught a few lessons, offered support, emails, things like that, helped people with formatting, and it really did help a lot to be able to go through and actually visit these classrooms. I contribute that classroom observation setting probably to be one of the more beneficial things, and it got one of the better responses overall once the evaluations were tabulated. Okay, as I've stated before, the initial capstone was written for a middle school setting, somewhere I had worked for a year and actually was winding up my second year there. I was familiar with the school, with the problems that particular school faced, the situation. I had already had meetings, gotten approval, everything was going well. But to be closer to my family, I took the job at Hillgrove High School, which has been an outstanding opportunity and an excellent school. But it also meant the first thing I had to do was go back, rework the capstone, put some of the deliverables on hold, because most of them ended up being not applicable to the new situation. Again, not only was I changing from middle to high school, I was changing socioeconomics, demographics, tons of things changed. I also had to go through a whole new strategic plan for a school. Luckily, they had an emphasis on technology. That's still one of their big goals, and they were really supportive when I came to them with this proposal and kind of explained my situation, and I was developing a capstone. I presented the original one and what I had reworked and the idea, and they really were open and accepting to that, and that was a huge break for me. A lot of sleepless nights worrying about whether or not I was going to have to maybe postpone this experience, but luckily they were great at working with me, understood the situation, and allowed me to continue my capstone there as needed. Another thing while we're on the experience, being a brand new teacher at a school, even though I had taught 7 years before, about to finish up my 8th year of teaching total, it was like being new all over again. I didn't know anybody, and so going from being, hey, this new guy that works here wants to lead professional development, it was really hard to build the professional relationships that you really need to do an excellent capstone to get tons and tons of participants. Had I stayed in my other school, I think I could have had a lot more numbers-wise participation, but I feel that the group I did have was small enough I could give it more individual attention, which was another thing that people spoke highly of. So in the end, while I wouldn't recommend switching jobs halfway through your capstone proposal, it wasn't an undoable experience. You just really kind of have to pound the pavement a little bit more than you would in a comfortable setting. Okay? And as I point out here, lots of professional relationships was probably the hardest thing. The rapport, several of that. I conducted 7 professional development sessions over the course from July to December. Okay. As I stated before, I provided development sessions and what I call a la carte support. That was one of the most high-rated things I did because people felt like it was their environment, their problem, a lot of one-on-one. And also displayed examples from the capstone site and discussed lesson planning with people that maybe they never came to a session, maybe I never helped them, but they had seen someone do something and inquired further about it. Most of these people I sent the deliverables, things like that, invited them to come to my classroom. A few of them took me up on the offer, but most of them took it and used it. A few of them have reported back that they used some of the technology that I presented in my sessions, so that's good. I just wish that they'd come to the sessions. The results. As I stated, I had a small, but I'll call them dedicated group of teachers that participated in my development sessions. At first, it was hard to get them to do things because of the professional relationships and the rapport. But as time went on and they saw that I was willing to go and help them personally, okay, it really helped. I also was fortunate that most of them really didn't have any Web 2.0 experience, so they selected things that were very, very practical to start off with, something simple and easy. A few people built past that. A lot of people stayed right there at that little comfort zone of just adding a sprinkle in here and there. But you have to start somewhere. Okay. Some of the lessons I got were really engaging. I thought that they were great. I'm fortunate to work with a lot of great teachers. I always have been. And at Hillgrove, we had some outstanding teachers that took these tools and really just kind of blew me out of the water. And the school strategic plan, I've helped increase that. I implemented the 21st century learning. I've actually had comments from administrators that do classroom observations, that they've seen something, and they know that I'm the one that had to show them that. And even teachers have commented to the administrator, hey, I'm using technology while I learned it from Coach Keith. So that was overall a rewarding experience. Okay. Again, the one-on-one, I've said it a lot of times in this presentation, that's the biggest thing. Okay. It helped me as a person, helped me to gain professional knowledge, fine-tune my professional development. It also helped me to get to know people at my school, which was instrumental, especially going forward when it hit October, November, December, time to wrap up the Capstone. It really proved extra beneficial that I built those relationships through this Capstone experience. As I said, reflection. I wouldn't change jobs intentionally, but it's not an insurmountable task. You just have to adapt and, like I said, pound the pavement to get your followers here. Follow-ups, I still didn't do as good of a job as I wanted to with that. I wanted to do more regular, but a lot of different things, being the new guy, kind of got in the way of that. Development planning, this was great. It was simple, short sessions, everything went well. And also gained a lot more knowledge about troubleshooting. Some things I didn't know how to do, I kind of had to make that up on the fly, but it was a great experience again because I got to visit so many classrooms. References easily cited here, the school strategic plan, Franklin and Pan, Pritchett and Pritchett, Solomon and Shroom. A lot of those things revolve around obstacles to training, things like that. I shared a lot of this information with my administration, especially the usage barriers. And for personal, the Web 2.0 book, I actually took that to the sessions and showed people, look, basically this is what you do, this is the book you buy. I'm pretty sure one teacher actually bought it. They were pretty impressed by that. So overall, the Capstone experience was a very positive one for me, and I really think it enhanced the school environment.